Here I ask, does sexual abuse emerge out of digital technology? Is it an emergent property of this technology? Or does superstition emerge? What emerged on the way to get this concept we have now of online abuse? This idea that children are sexually abused by sitting in front of their computers and looking at the screen because they're being groomed or abused remotely, like the law and the normies believe. How did that emerge? I mean, did it legitimately emerge out of the technology? Or did simply a superstition emerge? If a superstition did not emerge, but rather the phenomenon of online abuse emerged out of this technology, then we have to be able to pinpoint where that happened. At what point of technological development does online abuse emerge? And we can start with the simplest conceivable type of remote messaging, which would be something like a smoke signal. Is it possible to sexually abuse girls via smoke signals? You could imagine like a caveman sending up a smoke signal to a neighboring tribe, like he was trying to groom the girls there. And so in the smoke signal, he would say something like, show me your tits, encoded in smoke signals. And she would send up a smoke signal that would constitute abuse. In principle, that's the same thing that's we believe now are going on the internet. Because in principle, when you have digital messaging, you have that encoded in smoke signals as much as you do in our digital infrastructure. Conceptually, it can be encoded, on and off. You need two states that this message can be in, and then you accomplish all that abuse. Now, I'm pretty sure our ancestors did not believe in abuse by smoke signals. So it must have emerged after that. So the question is when? And then the question is that really an emergent property, or is it an emergent superstition? So now we can think about the next level of communication to somebody you can't actually look at face to face. That would be, it would be a messenger, wouldn't it? Could you sexually abuse by messenger? By relaying information that way? Never heard of it. But now we get to letters. If you have the ability to send letters, that's pretty ancient. You had that ability a long time. And I don't recall any hysteria around it. I just don't. I don't see how there is a precedent to online abuse by letters, which there should be. And then also to drawings. Say you sent a letter before sexting, you had letters. You send them in the mail, and you had pencil and paper. And you could send a letter to this underage girl and say, show me your tits, and she would draw it and then send a letter back to you. And then by the current thinking, she is abused. There's a real thing going on there which makes her a victim. Has it emerged? Has online sexual abuse emerged at that level of technology? Again, I don't think so. I never heard of it. It was never a thing in my childhood when we didn't have the internet. Or most people didn't have the internet. But we had letters. We had pen and paper, pencil and paper. We could send letters. But there was no hysteria around grooming by letters or abuse by letters. So it hasn't emerged yet. And it also hasn't emerged by the telephone. Even though they had a sort of concept of phone sex. They didn't have phone grooming. Didn't have phone abuse. That came with the internet. And it didn't even come right away. It took a while. And now we're supposed to believe it's completely real. So what has emerged? And what is the conceptual nature of this emergence? How did it emerge? It can't be the nature of communication itself, which we had in these other media. Is it the speed of communication? Is that where this entity creeps in? Because you can instant message a girl? Is that what they believe? Well, smoke signals are pretty instant too, except it takes a long time to encode, but they do travel at the speed of light once you've made your message. And it's just like the telegraph too. We didn't have grooming by telegram before. It's the same concept. The communication can accomplish the same things. So if there is no precedent, then it would either have to emerge, the abuse would have to emerge, the ability to sexually abuse via these remote images and messages. That would have to emerge out of new technology because it would have to be fundamentally different in some way. Or maybe just a superstition emerged. And personally, I have drawn that conclusion that a superstition emerged. And that's what is different now. Just sex hostility and superstition is different now. Now, if you have a better idea, if you can pinpoint where this ability to abuse via communication emerged out of technology, then I would like to hear about it, because intellectually I'm not buying it. So if you think that's real, then how about explaining it, how it can be real? Oh, I should also address the invention of photography and film. Photography has been with us for 150 years. Before we started this online abuse hysteria. I mean, in my childhood, we had Polaroids. We could instantly take those too. And it was never an issue. It can't be photography. It's not photography. It's not messaging. It's not drawings. It's not speech. Something has emerged out of what? Or did just a superstition emerge? As I was editing this, one more difference occurred to me, and that is the ability to meet new people. Can that be the emergent property? Well, no, because the phenomenon of the abuse supposedly occurring remotely is still not explained. And in the past, you had an ability to meet random people by your means of communications. You could send out a message in a bottle and meet a random person to talk to. But I never heard of grooming by message in a bottle.
And when I was growing up in the 1980s, we would play outside for hours unsupervised, and there we could meet strangers. And there wasn't a big hysteria, and if you got in touch with somebody that way, then you could use those other means of communication that were available before, and we didn't believe abuse could occur in those media. It would have to occur in person, which was also much less of a concern. But I'm talking about the online supposed abuse here, that ontological reality of it that the normies now believe in and the law believes in. Like it is its own thing. It can actually happen via images and speech remotely, and that is a thing in itself that is sufficient to make victims out of these children now that we believe. And I am questioning that belief, and I'm not having a satisfying answer to how it can be possible. If you have that answer, let me know in the comments.